What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Big Blue in the Bronx YouTube channel video. Please hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops to your drops. Appreciate y'all coming back. We got Twin Bill tonight on NYY News TV, so be sure to tune into that. If you like your Yankee content, tomorrow will be the Dead Red podcast. Sox Arizona will not be joining me. We were going to do the San Francisco Seahawks game. I think I'm going to do that solo because, you know, I've had a lot of co-hosts. Might want to do something just myself for once. And then on Friday, the content doesn't stop. Luca and Donald will be debuting the Friday Night Knicks podcast. So that's good for you guys as well. If you're a Knicks fan, basketball fan, you'll get to learn a lot there. Pretty excited to see what they have in store. On Saturday is the Big Blue in the Bronx podcast previewing the Commanders game. Nothing on Sunday. And then Monday will be, of course, the Boys and Big Apple podcast. So, obviously a lot of feelings have been crossing over in Yankee land right now. Some people are optimistic. Some people are pessimistic. We already know the obvious, right? Aaron Judge has been re-signed. Anthony Rizzo has been re-signed. Tommy Kahnle has been signed. But the Yankees haven't made any other moves besides those moves. And in this video, I'm going to break down 5 things they need to do to finish up the offseason. Now, obviously, we're nowhere near the end of the offseason, as, you know, right now it's December 14th. I would say February is the time where the offseason really is over and they go into spring training and do all that other stuff. Now, I don't think any major stars will hold out until spring training. That was obviously a few years ago with Machado and Harper, but, you know, things have surprised me before. But we're going to get right into it here. 5 things the New York Yankees must do to finish the offseason. And we're going to start with number 1. And I've been a big campaigner for this guy that's on my screen right now. That's Carlos Rodon. The Yankees currently have made an offer to him, and Scott Boras is his agent, so it's not ever easy with Scott Boras. It's not ever easy negotiating with a high-priced free agent like Carlos Rodon. I've talked about him since last year. A lot of people weren't on the train last year. Oh, he's injury prone. Oh, he's only got one proven year. He doesn't, do stuff in the playoffs. Blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? Everybody was going on Twitter, going on their platform saying they wanted him at the deadline after we were out on Luis Castillo. We ended up getting Frankie Matas, which is a different story. But we didn't get Rodon. And now 3 times a charm, which is kind of like the Garrett Cole situation in a way. In no way, though, am I comparing Carlos Rodon to Garrett Cole. If the Yankees sign Carlos Rodon, they have a chance to have the best power lefty they've had since CC Sabathia. Everyone brings up James Paxton. James Paxton, no. He had like one good year. 2020, he was injured, all these different things. Nah, James Paxton does not fall into the Carlos Rodon category. I don't think he touches his realm. Just some stats off the last 2 years. Last year was San Francisco 14-8, 2.88 ERA. He had a total of 237 strikeouts in 178 innings, which was the most he's pitched in his career. You go back a year with Chicago, everyone was like, 1-year wonder thing. 13-5, 2.37 ERA, 132 innings pitched, 185 strikeouts. And we've had pitchers over the past few years, right? Jameson Taillon, Garrett Cole, they give up a lot of home runs. Carlos Rodon doesn't. Carlos Rodon does not give up many home runs, which would fit nicely into the mold. So there's that. There's also, Garrett Cole does, and this is truthful, Garrett Cole does have his blow-ups in the regular season. Now, I've come around to reshape my opinion on Garrett Cole saying, okay, he'll have his blow-ups in the regular season, but he's an absolute ace in the postseason. That's a little unproven yet with Carlos Rodon, but it's not going to sit here and cost us games. Now, did Garrett Cole cost us the number 1 seed? No, absolutely not. Lack of offense, in my opinion, and the front office mailing in games, in my opinion, cost us the number 1 seed. to obviously, we lost the Astros, and then history goes on from there. But Carlos Rodon will be able to salvage some of those games that Garrett Cole may have a blow-up in. And you look at rotations probably around the American League, right? What if you add a Carlos Rodon? Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, Luis Severino, and Nestor Cortez? Who's topping those four, maybe other than the Astros? And they just lost Justin Verlander, who is a regular season pitcher. He's not really a postseason pitcher. But are the Texas Rangers topping that? No. Are the Red Sox topping that? No. That may be the best rotation in the American League. It might. And people are coming out here with, he's injury concerns, this, that, and the other thing, right? I see a lot of people also as well saying trade for Zach Gallen, this, and this, whatever. The Yankees have the depth, in my personal opinion, to salvage if Carlos Rodon or Luis Severino gets hurt. I think you're fucked more if you don't get Rodon and Severino goes down, because then your top two is Cole, Cortez, Montas, and he was not good for the New York Yankees last year. And then maybe like Clark Schmidt, Domingo Germán. So it just goes faulty. Meanwhile, on paper, if you get Rodon, you got Cole, you got Rodon, you got Sevy, you got Cortez, and then you could do whatever the fuck you want at 5. You could do Germán, you could do Montas, you could do all these different guys. You could do Clark Schmidt if you want. It's just an easier way through the rotation for the Yankees if they sign Rodon. Now, is it a top need? No, it is not. But in my personal opinion, it does push them slightly towards the Astros level. Now, not that they're on the Astros level with the Rodon signing, but they would be one of the best rotations in baseball, if not the best rotation in baseball. Yes, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Now, that's my opinion. Sign Carlos Rodon, get that over with. I know there's obviously a lot of people saying, don't go to 7 years, don't go to 6, whatever. The Yankees right now are at 6 years, I think $172 million with Carlos Rodon. Go the full 7. Who cares? Who cares? Go the full 7, get your power lefty, move on to the next move. So, with that being said, I'm going to move on to the next move, and that next move is sign Andrew Benintendi or trade for Brian Reynolds. A lot of people have mixed feelings about both. Let's go over Benintendi first. Benintendi, last year in total, he played in 126 games, hit a total of only 5 home runs, 51 RBIs, a .304 batting average. He was pretty good in Kansas City. I don't remember if I think he was an all-star. Yeah, I think he was an all-star, so there's that. And then with the Yankees, it sort of dropped off. Only hit .254, hit 2 home runs, 12 RBIs. In my opinion, I attribute that to the fact that the Yankees did not use him properly. They were batting him first, then second, then fifth, then sixth, and all these different spots of the order. It just was not good for him. And people tell me, it's useless. The argument of putting somebody this in the order. The lineup doesn't matter. Well, if the lineup doesn't matter, then the whole baseball doesn't matter if the lineup doesn't matter, right? Pitching rotation doesn't matter. So I've heard that argument before. Trust me, I'm not making shit up. But here is the catch with Benintendi, and I'm irked a little by it, but the Yankees did not go after Yoshida, or they did, and they were unsuccessful. They didn't go after Nimmo, which, is fine in my book. They don't have a left fielder right now. And it's one risk or the other risk. The risk with Benintendi is he wants to be locked up, not at the level of Aaron Judge, but he wants to be locked up maybe 3 years less. Andrew Benintendi, despite being a solid ball player, he is not worthy, in my opinion, of being locked up for like 6 years, 100 million. In my opinion, he's not worthy of that. That's just not a player you sign to that type of contract. It's hurt the Yankees in the past, and I'm not going to say, he's Aaron Hicks or this guy or that guy or he's Jacoby Ellsbury. I'm not saying that. But he's just not worthy of that. Now, you flip it over to the other side Brian Reynolds. This is, a guy everybody's been talking about the Yankees trading for the past few years, and he's finally asked for a trade from the Pirates. Was not an all-star last year, but hit 27 home runs, 62 RBIs, 141 strikeouts, 262 batting average, and played in 145 games, 159 the year before, where he was an all-star. So he gives you speed, he gives you power, he gives you all that stuff, and he has the potential to be either a leadoff hitter or someone in the portion of the top 3, 4 in the order, or 5 or 6. The Yankees have to obviously figure that one out, and they can't be doing what they did with Benintendi after the trade deadline. Now, what is the catch to Brian Reynolds? The catch to getting him is you're going to have to give up prospects. A lot of people saying, don't give up this guy, don't give up that guy, whatever. You guys know that I wanted Castillo last year, and some of you may know that I said give up Anthony Volpe for him because that's the move that makes us stick out there and maybe gets us to the Astros level. Now, obviously, they didn't do that. Volpe's still a Yankee and whatever. But I'm going to flip the script a little bit. I would not trade Anthony Volpe right now for Brian Reynolds. Now, they're probably going to ask for some top-tier prospects. You could maybe give them Deivi Garcia or Clark Schmidt, one of those guys. It's not going to cut it. Jason Dominguez may be part of that. Trey Sweeney. There's a couple other guys I'm thinking of. Austin Wells. So you're going to have to mix in at least maybe 2 top prospects. Now, there's reports that Brian Reynolds being traded from the Pirates would seek some sort of a Juan Soto type deal. I don't see that happening, and if that's the case, it's very unlikely that they move him. But either way, the Yankees have to go out there, and they have to figure out who's going to be our left fielder. I like Ozzie Cabrera. I really do. But you can't pigeonhole him in one position, and then if he goes down or another position player goes down in a different position, you're fucked. Marwin Gonzalez is a free agent. Ozzie Cabrera can play multiple positions in the infield and in the outfield alone. Keep him as that platoon player. A guy who's a utility player, like DJ LeMahieu. He's much better than Marwin Gonzalez. So figure out left field. Don't let it be Aaron Hicks, which, hint, hint, he might be part of this video. He might not be. So we move on, and we're going to talk about trading away a washed Josh Donaldson, or as Christian from NYYST says, wash Donaldson. So what are the contract details for Josh Donaldson? This year, his base salary is $21 million, or at least should be next year. $21 million salary in 2023. And then 2024, it's a vesting option. I believe the vesting option is when a player does enough with incentives, he gets an extra year on the contract, and he would make $6 million, which isn't bad. But it's very unlikely that Josh Donaldson is going to be any better than he was last year for the New York Yankees. He was terrible. Starting all this locker room drama for no reason, even though I defended him when it came to the Tim Anderson stuff. I just thought it was a lot of unnecessary bullshit. And it was just a weird, toxic type feeling. Sometimes he would just try to start fights for no reason. And he really had no resume to back that up. Yeah, maybe like 5 years ago. But it just didn't add up. 148 strikeouts last year, 222 batting average, 15 home runs, 62 RBIs. I mean, not a good year at all. Not a good year. And, it'd be one thing if he wasn't toxic, or whatever the case may be, if he wasn't 37 years old. But there's a lot of things that go into it. And one thing that, people will talk about the Hicks contract, whatever, it's not worth the player. I think we all know that. I was trying to find the words to express it, but it's not worth. Josh Donaldson's not worth $21 million. Maybe a few years ago, but I don't even think that. One positive that you have to sell other teams on is he does play defense. But other than that, it's completely gone. Now, on the Dead Red podcast and on Twinbill, I did list some suitors, in my personal opinion, for Josh Donaldson. Only 2 right now, the Tigers and the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, the Brewers, it's going to be a tough situation because I think they're looking to tear everything down and rebuild, which will be quite an interesting process for them. So we'll see what happens. But they need to absolutely trade Josh Donaldson this offseason. They need to create money, I would say space, flexibility. And I know it's kind of opposite in all these different things where you normally would trade players before you sign other players, but Carlos Rodon feels this close to being a Yankee, and then it just makes sense adding a left fielder after that. Or you could just, in between, you could sign Rodon, then trade Donaldson, then trade Hicks, or do whatever you need to do. But trading away Josh Donaldson is a thing that the New York Yankees need to do this offseason. So the next one is another trade, trading away Aaron Hicks. You look at the contract, it's not bad for this era of baseball, the last 3-4 years of contracts. Aaron Hicks was signed to an extension in 2009, and guess what? He is a Yankee under contract until 2025 with a club option in 2026. He has not worked out. He really hasn't had any solid years as a Yankee the last 2-3 years. Last year was pretty fucking abysmal. If I'm going to be honest, if you guys are going to be honest with yourselves. Last year, 8 home runs, 40 RBIs, 109 strikeouts, 62 walks, 216 batting average. Everybody, including myself, will point to two things when it comes to Aaron Hicks' effort. That left field play, 2 left field plays actually, against the Tampa Bay Rays on Derek Jeter night. I was there. I saw everything that happened. That's plain unacceptable. They benched him for a few games, then started to put him back in the lineup because walks. And a lot of people tried gaslighting me about the walks. It's not worth it. So that's one. 2 is when he decided to call out the organization and the management saying, hey, why is Joey Gallo out there succeeding with LA, which is completely false. Why is he succeeding in LA and I'm stuck on the bench here? Because you fucking suck, that's why. So you look at the contract, it's about $10 million per year base salary-wise. And then it goes down to 9 the last 2 years of the contract. So the length is really what kills the Yankees. This is another one of Brian Cashman's masterpieces. Yeah, fucking right. Some suitors for him, in my personal opinion, the Cubs, the White Sox, the Rockies, LA, and the Marlins. Obviously the Yankees, whether it's the Donaldson contract, whether it's the Hicks contract, they have to eat money some sort of way. They have to eat money. They can't just say, oh, you're going to pay the full 25 for Donaldson, you're going to pay the full 10 for Hicks. It's got to be split up somehow. Teams are not going to take the trade or the player in that case if it's not split up evenly or if it's more garnered toward their side where, like, for instance, the Cubs trade for Hicks, right? They have to pay for most of the contract. They're not going to take that, especially in a rebuild. The Cubs probably could use a depth piece, and Aaron Hicks at this point in his career is probably not a starter. So that's why maybe for instance, the Angels, right? They look at him, Trout gets injured a ton, and they need outfielders. Maybe they need backup outfielders. Get Hicks, $10 million. I mean, even though Artie Moreno seems to be a cheap bastard owner, that's just a potential suitor for Aaron Hicks. So Aaron Hicks needs to be gone. Bye-bye. Same thing with Josh Donaldson. So that's number 4. And we have one more on the docket. And of course, that is dealing Gleyber Torres and committing to Oswald Peraza. Now, a lot of people will come out and say, Alex, what do the two have to do with each other? Not really anything at all, to be completely transparent. Dealing Gleyber Torres. Gleyber Torres is a solid baseball player. I'll put it that way. He's a solid baseball player. And he had a really good start to last year. Come the trade rumors at the deadline with Pablo Lopez, as everybody gaslit, gave the excuse, he went down. Started not running. The defense was pretty good last year, and that's something that needed to improve with Gleyber Torres. Even though he was at shortstop, that was just totally not a fit for 2 years. He needed to go back to second base. He needed to. And his defense was there. but it just seems like at times he is mentally out of it and it's a head case. And the Yankees have some good middle infielders coming up in their youth system to where you could save money on Gleyber Torres, trading him to another team and really saving yourself $9 million with arbitration or whatever process they have to go with him. And, you have Peraza, you have Cabrera, you still have LeMahieu. I mean, it's not like he's going to be out the next 5 years with injury. I mean, it's getting concerning to this point, but you do have a backup, Anthony Volpe. So I know a lot of people are saying, keep Torres and then trade him at the deadline. Why risk it? Why risk, he sucks in the first half and then you get chump change for him at the deadline? Right now, sell high. Sell high on Gleyber Torres and deal him. That's my personal opinion. But just to include some stats because I want to back it up. 140 games last year, 129 strikeouts, 257 batting average, 24 home runs, 76 RBIs. In my opinion, you cannot start your season with Gleyber Torres at second base. LeMahieu, if not, you move around some infielders, Cabrera until LeMahieu comes back, do something like that. But a lot of things have to fall in place. So, deal Gleyber Torres. The other half is commit to Oswald Peraza. I always get it confused. Oswaldo Peraza is really Oswald Peraza, and then, it's Oswaldo Cabrera. I get those two confused sometimes in terms of first names. But back to seriousness, back to the point. The Yankees need to commit to him as the shortstop. They do. Or commit to Volpe as the shortstop in the future and put Peraza at second base. Peraza can play multiple positions across the infield. A lot of people are projecting, for instance, Volpe can play this position, whatever. It's just projections as of right now. So we don't truly know it. But Volpe is a lot of people's future shortstop in their minds for the Yankees. But they need to commit to him as the shortstop right out of the gate, whether you want to move him or you want to trade him or you want to move him to another position. But you need to commit to him out of the gate because you cannot, and I mean you cannot have IKF start any games at shortstop next year. It can't happen. So commit to Oswald Peraza. If you want to trade him, but you have to have a backup plan. To be completely transparent, I've kind of bought into the idea of, maybe IKF can play third once you move Donaldson. That seems like a fair deal, right? IKF, decent hitter. In terms of defense, cannot play shortstop worth a shit, but can play third. Gold glove there a couple of years ago with the Rangers. So, with that being said, commit to Oswald Peraza. Correa's off the market. Do not go after a Dansby Swanson, in my opinion. I mean, I just don't think he's worth the money. So, commit to Oswald Peraza. Deal Gleyber Torres. All right. To recap the video and finish this off, what are the 5 things the New York Yankees need to do to finish the offseason, whether that be in the next 2 weeks or in the next 2 months? They need to sign Carlos Rodon. Get that power lefty. Compete with the rest of the American League and rest of baseball with a top rotation. In my opinion, you cannot miss with Cole, Rodon, Severino, and Cortez. That top 4 is pretty solid, in my personal opinion, and really doesn't compare to too many teams. He is worth the money. He is worth the 7 years. Number 2, trade for Reynolds or sign Benintendi. You need to figure out left field. And those are 2 options, but there's risks when it comes to those options. Either you're giving up prospects, probably 2 in the top 10 or more, or you commit to Benintendi long term, $16 million a year for 6 years. Is that really worth it in some people's minds? Not really. But they didn't get Yoshida. Yoshida got a ton of money. So that kind of pushes Benintendi to get more money and to bank on himself. So Benintendi or Reynolds. That's my personal opinion. Not really for this idea of trading for Jake McCarthy. I don't know too much about him, but Reynolds or Benintendi, it is for me. Number 3, deal Josh Donaldson. The Yankees have to be flexible, and they have to get that contract off the books. Whether it's now, before they sign before they sign Benintendi or trade for Reynolds, one of these other things, they have to be flexible. They have to be flexible. Last year, they did not trade Aroldis Chapman, and Zach Britton was dead weight at $13 million, $31 million combined for both. And Obviously, we know now that Hal really isn't a cheap guy and he'll go after some players. But Cashman, he misutilizes the money. Obviously, Josh Donaldson is prime example of that. The Yankees need to go out there, admit they were wrong on him, and trade him. Trade him away, eat some money, go out and be flexible. Aaron Hicks, do not leave yourself hampered with Aaron Hicks. He is a lazy baseball player. He's called out the organization multiple times. He's fucked up on the field multiple times. Yeah, the money isn't bad, but the contract is. You don't want to be locked down to a bench player for $10 million until 2026. That's not what I recommend. Again, be flexible, trade him to a team, eat some of the money for the first 2-3 years of the contract. Sorry. And then, deal Gleyber Torres, commit to Oswald Peraza. You could get Gleyber Torres right now, probably for a solid piece, whether that be bench, back of the rotation. Maybe you could deal, and this is just my imagination here, Torres and Montas for some pitcher across baseball, maybe like Zach Gallen. Now, obviously, that wouldn't totally get it done, but I'm just dreaming right now. Dealing Gleyber Torres, selling him high, do not start him at second base, because if the Yankees have this idea of before Volpe comes up, put Torres at second, what if the value goes down? You're not going to get much for Gleyber Torres, in my opinion. And committing to Oswald Peraza, you have to start him at shortstop. I don't know what the Yankees' long-term vision is with Oswald Peraza, whether it's keeping him at short, moving him to second, but in my personal opinion, he is the only capable shortstop the New York Yankees have on the roster. And they got to start the season with him. Like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops video drops. Appreciate y'all coming back. Peace out, guys. See you later, and stay cool.